So today I want to talk about the reparenting role in dissociative identity disorder. The reparenting role is a psychotherapy that is used to help you to learn to reparent your alters and guide your alters and to get through them amnesic barriers and take responsibility of your little alters, your middle alters, and your adult alters, and sometimes non-human or interject alters. In the beginning of therapy, you may find that using the reparenting role, there are times where there's going to be conflict with you and your alters. Alters are used to old coping mechanisms, hence anger outbursts, breaking things, self-harming. Some may do things like stealing or overeating. Some alters may feel scared and end up hitting a loved one or hurting someone by screaming at them. It is your responsibility to find a way to cope and to heal and to take responsibility of that alter, no matter how little they are. DID is not an excuse to hurt somebody or lash out in anger or something. An example for that is I have self-harming alters that hurt the body. So I, as a responsible adult and the parent of that alter, need to figure out ways with my therapist's help how to cope with that and how to change that alter's thinking so they stop doing that behavior. I even had littles that would overeat, to get up in the middle of the night and eat something to the point of making me sick. So then I, as a parent, had to take on the role and responsibility of how to guide that little alter into eating in accommodation. And to do that, I had to work with my therapist. So an example of that would be, per se, you have a teen alter that lashes out in anger and hits your husband. It is your responsibility to figure out what's going on with that teen and to admit that you had done wrong and try to fix the problem by going to therapy and having your therapist guide you to help you figure out why that teen did that and make consequences for them actions. So again, another example would be if a little goes to Walmart and puts a box of crayons in your pocket and you come home and all of a sudden you come to, you have that amnesic barrier and that time loss, and you find this box of crayons. What do you do? What do you do? The choices are there and the responsibility is there. So you either keep the crayons and pretend it didn't happen, which is by law stealing. You don't want to do that. Or if you don't know what to do, you contact your therapist or mental health care professional on guidance. And thirdly, you take the responsibility of being an adult and you either have someone take the crayons back for you, explaining the situation that you have a disorder, and apologize and pay the consequences of doing it. Then you also, after you take the crayons back or you have someone help you take the crayons back, say you got therapy the next day, you talk to your therapist about what had happened, and that therapist, can talk to that little and explain to them that they cannot take things without an adult present or without permission, so that little can learn responsibility. So when Colin Ross talks about the reparenting role, that is what he is speaking of. So therapists that specialize in DID have the ability to use the trauma model and to use the reparenting role to help guide your littles as a parent would do. Teach them new things, new responsibilities that they've never learned. So let's give an example. As a child, you were neglected, you weren't fed, you went through a lot of abuse, and you found as a 5-6-year-old that if you would sneak out at night and steal food, you'd get something to eat. And at that time, it was a good thing. You saved your own life. But now, because it's the present future, that little alter still has it in their mind to do what they did in the past. So as a therapist and as a mental health care professional, those people that treat you can help guide that little to understand you don't need to do that anymore for the body. So-and-so can take care of that, etc. What troubles me the most with the online media issue, and especially the teen thing going on where everybody wants DID, and people that are faking it for attention, some of these children are finding it is a cool excuse for bad behavior. So an example of that would be a teenager that's 16, 17 years old, fights for everything he can to claim he has DID, and he's self-diagnosed, and he smacks his mother. So what do you do about that kind of situation? To me, it is a responsibility on him and his mother to have consequences for that kind of behavior. It's inappropriate, whether he has DID or not. There should be a consequence. And usually, like I had stated before, I read a lot of Kathy Glass books, and traumatized children in them books, they're real stories, talk about how to handle consequences in a healthy way for a child to learn responsibility. It is vital and important that if you really do have DID, to seek mental health care help. Because if you try to self-diagnose and you try to treat yourself, you're not going to get anywhere because of those amnesic barriers. If you really have DID, those amnesic barriers are going to stop you from parenting your alters. The thing is, my therapist has done a lot of guiding, and with the guiding and my help and us collabing together, we have come up with awesome strategies to deal with these kind of situations. One is that littles and teen alters are based on sights, smells, sounds. So you can use a certain smell, like my therapist has helped me, and I've helped myself with this, is teaching littles and teens that a certain perfume I put on means they can't be out for the day. And I use Old Spice for my littles. If I have Old Spice man perfume on and I go to the clinic, they know that smell means don't come out today. Don't, they're taught that through therapy, that, okay, this means this. The rattling of my keys if I have to drive somewhere means, no, you can't be out. We're driving today. I actually play German music in my vehicle. That way they know that it's not safe to be out. There's 4 of us that drive. So that's an option. These are things that you can't do with self-diagnosis. You need the guidance of a therapist to talk to your alters that you're not connected with, to guide you, to help you to get through these kind of responsibilities. So the other thing that I ask is, if you are a parent and your child is claiming to have DID, please do not start treating them like they do. Take them in, get them assessed, get mental health care help, so you can understand the disorder more, and the therapist can guide your child and you through this journey. It's like me. I've been in therapy, intense therapy, for 8 years. I've been going to therapists for over 20 years, dealing with this disorder for over 20 years, reading immensely on ways and tips and things to help me deal with this disorder. The thing is, it's like you were responsible to save your own life when you were younger. Now you're responsible to help reprogram and help educate yourself to deal with the disorder that you no longer need. So last, I'm going to repeat. If you really think you have dissociative identity disorder, find means and ways to get help for it. Get assessments. Colin Ross has got an email. He's got an open institution that gives free advice. He can help guide you to find somebody that's in your area. And the same goes with the other places that specialize in DID. Give them a call, email them, talk to them. They can guide you. That's what I had to do, and I worked very hard to do that, even though it was very difficult to keep going over and over and going, okay, I'm not getting anywhere. Then you keep fighting, the same as you did when you were a child. So that's all I have today. Love you guys. Bye.